Hi, everyone. My name is Latasha Johnson, and I am the host of the Empowered and Single Finding Joy in Your Journey workshop. I'm thrilled to have you here, and welcome to those that are catching the replay. So, we've got a lot of material to cover, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm Latasha Johnson. I am the host of the Hustle in Faith podcast, and I created this workshop in order to encourage, equip, and empower women like yourself to embrace your singleness as a divine assignment, not a setback. All right. But before we jump in, I want to know from you, what are the ways that you enjoy spending your time? And if you had to describe what it feels like being single, one word that it describes, that it feels like being single is to you, what would that word be? Regardless of whether it's happy, sad, I just want you to think about that because hopefully at the end of this workshop, you're going to feel a lot more different. All right. So, in the event that you have any questions, in case you're catching this on the replay or any comments, please be sure to leave that in the description box. I read all of my messages, so don't worry, I will get back to you. All right, so we've got a lot of material. Let's go ahead and jump right in. So, the framework single, and I want you to really think about this, okay? So, whenever you think about the word single from this point forward, I want you to think about this particular acronym framework, however you want to look at it, okay? But I'm just for the sake of convenience and to make sure we're aligned, I'm going to refer to it as a framework. All right, so let's jump right in. So, we're going to discuss first the letter S, which stands for special. So God has given all of us gifts that he intends for us to use. We're not supposed to just keep it to ourselves and just, hoard everything, all that knowledge, all of the talents and things that God's bestowed upon us. I want you to remember that you are wonderfully and uniquely made in God's image. And so you have gifts, passions, and strengths that no one else on this planet can replicate. And singlehood is not wasted time. It's your chance to connect deeply with God and uncover the incredible ways that He's equipped you to serve others. Okay. Now, here's one thing that I want you to think about. I want you to jot down and I just want you to jot this down, okay? What is one gift, skill, or passion that you believe that God has placed inside of you? Okay? Again, I want you to think about one gift, skill, or passion that you believe that God has placed inside of you. And then I want to take it a step further. I want you to think about how can you use the gift, talent, or skill or passion that you just wrote down to glorify God and serve others. Okay? So again, that the S in single, I want you to think about that from now on, stands for special. And it is up to us to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to reduce the time it takes for us to discover our God-given gifts. Again, we only have a limited amount of time for this workshop, but these two questions are very important and they're going to play an integral role in helping you get started on your journey. So let's go ahead and discuss the I in single, which stands for invest. So once you've already identified your gift, the next step is to invest in it. Okay. We don't want to just sit there and be like, yay, we figured out what I'm supposed to do. Now you need to actually do it. Right. So identifying it is the difficult part, but now we need to make sure that we're developing our gift. And the only way we can do that is by investing time into ourselves. Okay. So many of us are just spinning our wheels, wondering why aren't we experiencing success? And it all boils down to the fact that we fail to include God in our decision-making process. Okay. So we need to ask God for wisdom on how to sharpen our skills and deepen our knowledge and perfect our craft. And here's the thing, speaking from personal experience, when I intentionally put God first, He started freeing up my schedule so I could have more time to study, more time to practice, and more time to grow. And I am so grateful that all that time that I used to think I didn't have, he freed up my schedule because I decided to really focus on putting him first. And he saw that. And so he freed up my schedule so I would have the ability to invest in a lot of the talents that I have and possess. And one of them you're seeing right now is leading different workshops, the podcast, writing, all of these different things were what I would consider to be buried talents because at first, I'll be completely honest, I was not putting God first and he was more of an afterthought. I thought that he could just bless the mess that I bless him with my leftover time, my leftover resources, and that just wasn't right. And so, if you are in a space and time in your life right now where you are feeling restless, you are feeling frustrated, you're feeling sad, angry, whatever, okay? Excuse me. Please do not ignore that feeling, especially when you're feeling restless, because that's God trying to prepare you for your next season. Okay. And some of the best ways that you can invest in yourself is to set aside dedicated time weekly to develop your gift. Think about taking classes. Think about, sorry, here. And think about taking classes. Think about reading books, listening to podcasts, participating in challenges and workshops like you're doing right now, or courses. And if possible, try to find yourself a mentor, someone that can guide you along the way. Um, they're all out there, but make sure you get the right one, okay? Because some folks can be deceiving, okay? So make sure that you have discernment and include God in your decision making process when you're trying to look for a mentor, okay? So I want you to now think about, if you are going to invest in yourself, how are you going to do that? Okay. So a goal without a plan is just a wish, right? Again, let me say that again. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So, what steps are you going to take in order to invest in yourself and pour into the gift that God already gave you? And if you're watching this in the replay, please be sure to type in the comments section how you plan on doing this. I really do read all the messages and comments, so make sure that you do that. All right. So now we've got the N, which is network. So one of the biggest blessings that God gives us is community. Okay. I am so grateful for the people that I have in my community. And it's extremely important that you surround yourself with people who encourage your growth, speak life into your dreams, and push you closer to God. If you don't have people like that in your life, they probably don't need to be in your life, right? Because we're all about making sure that we're making the most of the time that God has given us. And if you strive to live an extraordinary life, the company you keep is going to reflect that as well. Okay. So when you connect with the right people, God is going to accelerate your journey. Again, accelerate your journey. But again, I need to stress this, okay? You have got to be careful because the wrong people, the relationships can drain your energy and distract you from your purpose. And again, our lives are like a vapor, right? James mentions that in the James chapter the chapter James mentions that our life is like a vapor. We're essentially here one day and gone the next. And so you want to make the most of your time. You don't want to allow anyone to distract you from the purpose that God has for you on earth. And so let me know. are you ready to upgrade your circle? Okay. And what I mean by that is, if you see that the folks that you have surrounding you are not elevating you, are you going to take the step to, change things? Make sure that you get around the right folks by placing yourselves in the right rooms that will allow you to take your life to the next level. Because insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. Like you're repeating the same thing and expecting different results. That is insanity. It's never going to happen, right? So if you're constantly surrounding yourself with people who are going to bring you down, you're not going to achieve the level of success that God has in store for you. All right. So let's discuss our next point, which is the G, which is growth. And so I love this one because after you have gone through the whole process of identifying your talent, making sure that you're investing in yourself, and then surrounding yourself with the right community, you're going to be in a position to finally start to see some growth. And growth does not happen by accident, it is intentional. God calls us to stretch, evolve, and step into new levels of faith. If you're staying stagnant, something is going horribly wrong. Okay. You should see some sort of growth or progress. Now, I'm type A, so I like to see my growth at warp speed, but life does not work that way. So you need to make sure that you benchmark where you start in the process so you can celebrate those wins along the way. Okay. And here's the key. I want you to once again focus on progress. Notice I said progress. Okay. Progress is important to see, but I don't want you to get hung up so much on progress that you're expecting perfection. Okay. Done is better than perfect. And that is the case when it comes to the growth part of this acronym, because small, consistent steps are going to build massive transformation. And so I want you to think about this question here. What's one habit that you need to stop, start, or strengthen to step into your next level? Again, I'll repeat that question. What's one habit I need to stop, start, or strengthen to step into my next level? I want you to really think about that and take some time. And in the event that you don't have someone to hold you accountable, feel free to put in the comment section what that one habit is in the event that you are looking for some accountability. All right. So sometimes I like to put stuff out there just so I have the ability to go back later and see how much progress I've made. There's something to be said about saying it out loud, right? So the next step in our acronym is the L, which is light. So I really love this particular verse. I'm just going to read this verse real quick. But let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. And that's Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. So another verse I want to just share really quickly is our struggle is not against, oops, sorry about that. Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces of evil. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12. And the reason I wanted to read those two verses is because your light was meant to shine, but there will always be people who are there in an attempt to hide it or, just get rid of it in any way, shape or form that they can do so. And so God didn't create you to blend in. He actually called you to stand out. All right. But shining doesn't mean striving. It actually means that you're using your gifts to glorify God, knowing that the spiritual attacks, again, those are those folks that want to bring you down and hide your light, those spiritual attacks are going to come, okay? They are going to come. And whenever we try to ascend to a higher level in life, the enemy doesn't want to see us succeed, right? So he's going to send attacks your way. And they're going to come as soon as you start walking boldly into your calling. And so I want you to stay grounded in prayer, stay rooted in his word, and keep shining anyway. And so if you've decided to go ahead and shine boldly in your calling, leave that in the comment section too. I've decided to shine. All right. Now, we also have, last but not least, E, which is educate. And so this is a big one, okay? So I want to make sure that we understand that we've done all of these steps, but we're not to keep it to ourselves, okay? We need to make sure that we are sharing our knowledge with other people. So the final step in this framework is to educate and bless others. Your gift isn't just for you. I cannot stress that enough. Your gift isn't just for you. You are meant to be a blessing. It's a kingdom assignment. Your gift is a kingdom assignment. So you need to share your knowledge, mentor someone, or simply just encourage another woman walking a similar path as you. Okay. So when you pour into others, God is going to pour back into you. And so I want you to think about this. Who can you bless this week by sharing your story, your testimony, or your resources? Again, who can you bless this week by sharing your story, your testimony, or resources? And so I want you to think about this. Which of these letters in the acronym spoke the most to you? Okay. Was it special, invest, network, growth, light, or educate? And so I want to leave you with some of these questions. All right. Based on which letter spoke the most to you. All right. That's going to be your homework. All right. But I want you to think about this. I will trust God with, I want you to fill in the blank. I will step outside my comfort zone by, what are you going to do to step outside your comfort zone? I will show gratitude for, I will guard my peace by, this week I will choose joy by, I will bless someone by. So I want you to fill in the blank. So when I said by, I want you to fill in the answer. Okay. And then come back to the comment section and let me know how you plan on executing everything that's listed on this slide. All right. I know it may seem overwhelming at first, but trust me, that's part of the process. Remember, we decided to commit to the single framework. So you need to make sure that you're taking time out to figure out how are you going to figure out that you're special in terms of your gift, investing, networking, and the rest of the acronym. All right, so we've unpacked the single framework. We've got our 6 principles that are going to help you walk boldly in your gifts. I want you to remember that you are special. You must invest in your gifts. You need the right network. You will grow. Your light matters, and you are called to educate and bless others. And before I close this out, I want to remind you that if you had to have one takeaway from this workshop, I want it to be that God has not forgotten you. Okay, that is the one takeaway that I want you to remember from this particular workshop, is that your singleness is not a setback. You are here to strengthen your gifts, expand your influence, and surround yourself with others that are going to uplift you. And so, in the event that you are looking for more encouragement, I want to let you know about some upcoming events that I have in January 2026. Already starting to prepare for that. So, I've got some workshops that I think are going to be very beneficial. So we've got the 5 ways to turn burnout into breakthrough content. I will be hosting my self-publishing, made simple. So in the event that God has put it on your heart to get out there and write that book, maybe create a devotional, and you're just not sure how to organize your content or you're afraid of the technology, don't be. I'm your girl for that. Okay. So I have gone through the self-publishing road, and my background's in marketing and communication. So I'm kind of the full package, whatever. And so if you need assistance, be sure to join that particular workshop. And then I'm also doing the Launch Your Podcast Like a Pro workshop. I've been in podcasting. I've been doing podcasting for about 8 years now, and I will be on season 9 in 2026. So I'm very, very excited about that. And so, in the event that God's put it on your heart to start your own podcast, but you're afraid of the technology, you're not quite sure where to start at, again, make sure that you connect and join one of the workshops. All right. And then last but not least, we have the Single Avenue Squad networking event. So this event is geared for our single ladies that are looking for an opportunity to connect with each other and just network. So we can do some of the things that we just discussed in the workshop. So, in case you are wondering what are the next steps from this workshop, I want to make sure too that you go ahead and purchase my book, How to Live an Extraordinary Life with or Without Mr. Right. And so that book is available on withorwithoutmrright.com. You can go ahead and purchase the book and the workbook. And it's also available in audio format, and that is professionally narrated by myself. No AI here, is professionally narrated by me. As I mentioned before, I do voiceover work as well, so you don't have to worry about weird narrations with AI voices. So it is professionally narrated by myself. And make sure that if you've not already done so, subscribe to the Hustle and Faith podcast and be sure to join our community by joining the mailing list so you can be notified of our upcoming events. And as always, in the event that you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You can find me on social media at all platforms under the at Hustle and Faith handle. And then you can always shoot me an email and be sure to check out the website. And once again, thank you so much for checking out the Empowered in Single Finding Joy in Your Journey workshop. I'll see you around.